"You can't afford this place. Go wait by the bar like the others," the manager snapped, his voice cutting through the elegant hum of Luminos Bistro's grand opening night like a slap across the face. Those weren't words said in secret. They weren't whispered or mumbled under breath. They were delivered loud and firm, with the kind of confidence that comes from thinking no one's watching, or worse, thinking no one will care. But what Victor Lang, the manager of this upscale Miami location, didn't realize was that the woman he had just humiliated wasn't some lost customer off the street. She was Nia Williams, the founder and CEO of Luminos Hospitality Group, the very empire he worked under. And in just 10 minutes, Victor would be jobless, exposed in front of his own staff and customers, and banned from ever stepping foot into any of the company's properties again. Before we dive into what happened next, I want to know, where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments below. If you've ever witnessed someone stand up to prejudice and take back their power, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more powerful true stories just like this. Now, let's rewind and walk you through the night that turned Luminos Bistro upside down. At exactly 7 p.m. on a warm July evening, Nia Williams stepped into the 10th and newest branch of Luminos Bistro at 2501 Bayshore Drive in Miami, Florida. She was dressed in a crisp white dress shirt tucked neatly into tailored black slacks. No logos, no flashy jewelry, just confidence and purpose in every step. To any outsider, she looked like a modest, middle-aged woman grabbing dinner after work. But beneath that simple outfit stood a 47-year-old titan of the hospitality industry, a woman who had built a $10 billion portfolio brick by brick, dining room by dining room, through years of vision, discipline, and grit. And, tonight, she was here undercover to quietly observe her staff, test their customer service, and see how guests were being treated at the soft opening. But the moment Nia walked through the door, Victor Lang locked eyes with her and made a snap judgment. "Walk in?" he asked the receptionist with a raised brow and a half-laugh. "No," Claire Dubois replied after glancing at the reservation tablet. "VIP table, Nia Williams." That should have been the end of it. But Victor leaned forward over the hostess stand, looked Nia up and down, and chuckled. "You must have mistaken the restaurant," Claire said, holding back a smirk. "This is a high-end launch party. We're not seating people in business casual." Nia, calm but firm, replied, "I have a confirmed reservation." Victor folded his arms. "VIP section is for premium clientele, not walk-ins pretending they belong." Customers nearby began to glance over. A few eyebrows rose. Still, Nia stood her ground. "I'd like to be seated." Claire raised her voice, louder this time. "Do you have ID, credit card, something that shows you can cover the table?" That demand, delivered with flippant cruelty, echoed the kind of insult black professionals around the world know too well, the assumption that success doesn't belong to them unless it's proven. Nia pulled out her phone, silently opened her internal dashboard for the Luminos network, and messaged her executive assistant, "Activate internal observation log. Start timestamp now." But she said nothing aloud. Yet, at that moment, Liam Carter, a server, walked by, saw the tension, and added fuel. "You're better off with the set menu. The a la carte dishes aren't really for everyone." He handed her a cheaper, limited version of the menu, something not even offered to regular guests that night. "Why don't you try something more affordable?" he said with a grin that belonged in a high school cafeteria, not a luxury restaurant. A few feet away, Zoe Kim, a Korean-American food vlogger with over 100,000 Reddit followers, paused her dinner. "Are you seeing this?" she whispered to her friend Evan Brooks, a white marketing consultant dining with her. They started recording quietly, just in case, when Liam smirked and said, "She doesn't even know how to order upscale." Zoe hit post, caption, "Racism at Luminos Bistro, opening night." It went straight to our public freakout. Evan followed with the same video posted to Miami Foodies on Facebook, writing, "This is disgusting. Staff mocking black woman on opening night because they think she can't afford the menu." Meanwhile, a couple, white, mid-30s, dressed in designer clothes, walked in without a reservation. "Right this way, folks." Sophie Grant, the bartender, beamed. "VIP table for our best guests." She handed them welcome drinks before they were even seated. Nia, still standing, watched them glide past without so much as a pause at the hostess stand. Isabella Torres, a young Latin American server on shift that night, frowned. "Sir," she said to Victor, "she has a reservation. She confirmed it earlier." Victor waved her off. "Stay out of this." But Isabella didn't. She stepped in front of Nia and said quietly, "Ms. Williams, if you'd like, I can seat you myself." Liam chuckled. "You're defending someone who clearly doesn't belong here?" Nia's hand stayed firm at her side, her voice calm. "You're making a mistake." Behind her, a small but growing group of customers began whispering. Malik Johnson, a black entrepreneur visiting from Atlanta, turned in his chair and said loudly, "This feels familiar. You all really want to go viral tonight?" Victor scoffed. "This is private property. I can refuse service to anyone," Claire added. "We don't want problems." Nia's eyes stayed focused. "Neither do I. But the problem started the moment you judged me based on my appearance." She picked up the printed menu and examined it. "Strange. I designed this layout myself." That remark raised a few eyebrows, especially from Isabella, who blinked twice and looked between Nia and the others. "Wait. What?" she whispered. "You're—" But Nia didn't confirm. Not yet. Instead, she placed the limited menu back on the hostess stand and said, "Tell me something. Mr. Lang, do you treat all your guests this way? Or just the ones who don't fit your image of wealth?" Victor's reply was venomous. "You're embarrassing yourself. Go wait by the bar." And with that, he physically turned his back on her and addressed Liam. "Clear that VIP table for the real guests." Just feet away, Sophie poured 2 glasses of sparkling wine for the white couple and said, "Thank you so much for joining us. You're going to love the chef's specials tonight." That was the last straw for Nia. She reached for her phone and texted Amara Davis. "Now." Seconds later, her assistant responded, "Internal system activated. Do you want me to notify HR and Rachel Cohen?" Nia typed one word back. "Stand by." Isabella, meanwhile, couldn't stay silent. "Victor, this is wrong. That woman is a guest. She's being harassed, and the whole restaurant can see it." Zoe turned her camera toward Isabella and whispered, "You're the only one standing up for her." Victor snorted. "You can film all you want. This is my floor tonight." But in less than 10 minutes, it wouldn't be. And the entire internet was about to find out. The tension inside Luminos Bistro thickened like heat on glass. After being told to wait by the bar and handed a dumbed-down menu, Nia Williams hadn't moved an inch, her presence alone, silent, composed, and infuriatingly calm, seemed to agitate Victor Lang more than any outburst could have. The manager paced behind the host's stand like a man trying to regain control of a narrative that was slipping fast. "Let's make something clear." Victor suddenly barked, raising his voice just loud enough for the entire front half of the dining room to hear. "This guest," he gestured openly at Nia, "will not be served from the VIP menu. She can pick something affordable, or she can leave." The word affordable landed like a slap. The silence that followed was broken only by gasps and the soft hum of Zoe Kim's phone capturing every word, every gesture, every glance of disgust. Claire Dubois, flustered but still trying to impress her boss, chimed in from behind the reception desk. We can seat her near the kitchen, she offered with false cheer. It's quieter back there, less distracting. Nia lifted her chin but said nothing yet. The room was watching now. Every table, every fork paused mid-air. Liam Carter, clearly emboldened by Victor's lead, walked toward her and said loud enough for half the floor to hear. It's not that complicated. Order a salad, or step aside. VIP entrees aren't for everyone. He gave her a smug smile as if waiting for applause. Nia blinked slowly and replied with the kind of calm that comes from years of being underestimated. The only thing that's complicated is how you still have a job. But Victor wasn't done. Staff, he called out, his voice sharp. Let's stay professional. We've got actual VIPs arriving any minute. Let's not waste energy on the wrong guests. That last phrase, the wrong guests, landed like poison. At table 8, Malik Johnson muttered. He did not just say that. Elena Ruiz, seated beside him, had already pulled out her phone. I've got the Facebook post open, she whispered. This is going live. Across the room, Ava Thompson's expression turned from surprise to disgust. Is this what upscale dining in Miami looks like? She asked aloud. Meanwhile, Zoe had posted a second Reddit clip under the same thread. Manager humiliates black woman. Staff joins in Luminos Bistro, Miami. In the video, Victor can be heard saying, "This guest isn't suitable for the VIP experience." Within minutes, the comment section was flooding. Words like disgusting, racist, and cancel this place exploded beneath the post. Evan updated his Facebook caption. They told her she wasn't classy enough. On opening night, Luminos Bistro, you've got a problem. As the algorithm took over, views doubled by the second. In the center of the storm, Isabella Torres stood tall at Nia's side. She hadn't backed down since her first quiet protest. She made a reservation, Isabella said firmly. She's here on time. She's not out of place. And this. She held up the alternate menu Liam had handed Nia. This is straight-up discrimination. Liam scoffed. She's just here to make trouble. Who shows up dressed like that for a VIP reservation? Claire added. It's giving misunderstanding. Maybe she booked by mistake. Nia took a slow breath and finally broke her silence. I didn't book by mistake. You did. You mistook my skin tone and my wardrobe for something beneath you. Victor cut in with a cold laugh. Lady, we run a business. We don't owe everyone a luxury experience. That statement hit like a rock to the chest. Isabella turned toward him, her voice steady but her hands visibly shaking. Victor, I've seen you do this before. You denied a table last month to a couple who spoke with an accent. You said they weren't on brand enough for Luminos. I stayed quiet then, but I won't this time. Zoe whipped her camera back to Isabella. Say that again, she urged. They need to hear it. Isabella did. This isn't the first time he's profiled someone. He targets anyone who doesn't look right, and we all know what that really means. Claire tried to interrupt, but Malik stood up from his table. Let her speak, he said sharply. Because she's saying what we've all seen and nobody talks about. Meanwhile, Amara Davis had stayed on the phone the entire time, her voice coming through Nia's discreet earpiece. Internal system is recording. Should I escalate to corporate now? Nia's response was quiet but firm. Not yet. I want them to bury themselves first. Claire was still trying to salvage her role. I'm just following instructions, she insisted. This wasn't my decision. But Liam doubled down again, this time grabbing the intercom mic beside the service station. Attention, staff, he said with a grin, his voice amplified now. The guest near the bar should be redirected to the express menu. She's not authorized for premium service. Gasps broke out across the room. Several diners stood up. Mia Chen, a young student visiting from NYU, stood and pointed directly at him. That's public humiliation, she said. I'm recording this too. Lucas Parker, a software engineer seated nearby, joined her. Y'all are going viral, he said, not as a threat but a fact. Victor, now visibly sweating, tried to regain control. This is getting out of hand. Isabella, clock out. Isabella shook her head. No, I'm staying right here, Zoe shouted across the room. Reddit's on fire. You're trending on our public freakout. Evan followed. Facebook's already at 15,000 views. You're toast. Victor. Still, he tried to bluff. Social media doesn't scare me. Nia smiled coldly. It should. Isabella took one step forward. Victor, if you do this, if you throw her out, you're proving everything they're saying, and this time, there are too many witnesses to hide behind policy. Elena Ruiz raised her phone. I've got the live stream, the mic call, everything. Victor's voice cracked. She's trying to provoke us. James Lee, an Asian-American attorney dining nearby, stood up. Actually, she's been nothing but calm. It's you who escalated. And if I were you, I'd be very careful what you say next. Zoe turned her camera toward the growing crowd. People are standing up. This is turning into something bigger than one dinner reservation. Malik crossed his arms. You think because she came in quiet, she'd leave quiet too? That's the part you messed up. Sophie Grant tried to offer her signature smile to a nearby white couple. So sorry for the disruption, she said sweetly, pouring another free glass of wine. But this time, the couple didn't smile back. We saw what happened. One of them said, It's not a good look. By now, customers weren't just observing. They were choosing sides. Victor looked around, realizing his allies had thinned out. Claire stepped back. Liam crossed his arms but avoided eye contact. Sophie stopped pouring, and Nia finally pulled out her phone, not to check in, not to text, but to call. Amara, she said into the receiver, her voice calm but unmistakably final. Prepare the directive. Internal action starts now. The moment Nia Williams pressed her phone to her ear, the dining room of Luminos Bistro seemed to go still, not with silence, but with a sharpened awareness that something irreversible was about to unfold. Go ahead, Amara, she said quietly, voice low but firm. Log every name, every action. Victor Lang, still clinging to control like a sinking captain denying the water around his ankles, raised his voice. This is still my floor. I want her out, now. He turned toward Liam. Escort her to the back and have her wait there, away from the cameras. Liam, puffing up like a loyal guard dog, nodded and began walking toward Nia with deliberate steps. You heard him, Liam said loud enough for the crowd. This area is for paying guests, not ones trying to make a scene. Several customers gasped audibly. You're really doing this? Mia Chen asked from her table. In front of everyone? Nia didn't flinch. She stood exactly where she was, at the threshold between the bar and the dining room, poised like a judge in a courtroom built to embarrass her. Her tone remained even. Touch me, she said to Liam, and I will file assault charges on the spot. Every camera in here is already rolling. Zoe Kim raised her phone higher. Got you in frame, she muttered. Evan added. Facebook just passed 30,000 views, and counting. Liam hesitated, arm frozen in the air, and stepped back with a bitter scowl. Victor, furious at the hesitation, pointed at Claire. You do it! Claire blinked, frozen. You want me to? Yes, Victor barked. Remove her. She's disrupting the experience for our real guests. You mean your white guests? Malik Johnson shouted, standing now, tall and unapologetic. Just say it. Victor. Claire approached Nia more cautiously, glancing at the circle of customers that had begun to rise from their tables. Malik, Elena, James, Ava, Lucas, Mia, Noah, all of them forming a loose barrier around Nia. "I'm just following orders," Claire whispered. "You don't have to make this difficult." Nia turned slowly toward her and said, "You made it difficult the second you questioned my right to exist in this space." Isabella, who had now walked out from behind the bar to stand with Nia fully, added firmly, "You know she has a reservation. She's done nothing wrong." Victor slammed his hand on the podium. "This is insubordination. You want to defend her? Go ahead. But you'll be out of a job." Isabella didn't blink. "So be it." Just as she said it, Zoe yelled across the room, "Reddit's at the top of our public freakout. It's blowing up." Evan followed. Hashtag racism at Luminos is trending. Phones were raised at nearly every table now, some discreetly, others openly. Customers whispered, nodded, exchanged knowing glances. Elena Ruiz called out, "You're going viral for all the wrong reasons," James Lee added. "This is bigger than a dinner reservation now." Sophie Grant, realizing the optics had shifted beyond recovery, poured 2 glasses of champagne for the same white couple she'd been doting on all night. But this time, they both shook their heads. "We're not staying for this," one of them said. "This is ugly." They stood, left their table, and walked out. Victor watched them go and turned red from the neck up. "You're ruining this night," he hissed at Naya. "You've brought this on yourself." But then something shifted. Claire's voice cracked. "Victor," she said softly, "I've seen you do this before. You always target the same kind of people. You told me to seat the white couples first, even if they didn't have reservations. You said they tip better." The entire dining room fell into stunned silence. Victor turned toward her, shocked. "Shut your mouth." "No," Claire said, louder now. "You said minorities wouldn't fit the image. You said if someone looked like they couldn't pay, put them by the kitchen. You made me do that, every single night." Her hands trembled. "I didn't say anything because I needed the job. But this is too far." Zoe spun her camera. "Did everyone get that?" she asked. "Because that sounded like a confession." Victor tried to move past it. "She's lying. She's trying to save herself." But the damage was done. Mia turned to Malik. "She admitted it. That's all we needed." Nia's phone buzzed. Amara again. "Rachel's ready for your call," she said. "She saw the live stream. We're getting flooded with media inquiries." "Patch her in," Nia said. A beat later, the phone switched over to a 3-way call. "Rachel Cohen." A calm voice answered. "What's the status, Nia?" "It's worse than we expected," Nia said calmly. "Discrimination, open bias, a manager leading it, a bartender complicit, a server mocking guests, a receptionist admitting a pattern." Rachel was silent for a moment. Then she said, "Fire him, effective immediately, and initiate public review." Victor caught her words and let out a hollow laugh. "You don't have that kind of power." "Don't I?" Nia asked, stepping forward now. "You've spent the last 15 minutes belittling me, mocking my clothes, questioning my finances, and trying to eject me from my own business." She turned to the room. "Everyone, listen carefully. My name is Nia Williams. I'm the founder and CEO of Luminos Hospitality Group. This restaurant, this very branch. You're standing in it because I built it. And I just fired the manager who tried to humiliate me." The room erupted, not in chaos, but in stunned gasps, hushed disbelief, and then applause. Isabella clapped first. Malik joined. Elena, Mia, James, Noah, Ava, Lucas. All of them stood and clapped as Victor's jaw dropped open and Claire staggered backward into the host stand. "No." Victor muttered, "No, that's not possible." "You should have asked who I was." Nia said, "But you didn't care." because all you saw was a black woman in a white shirt who didn't look rich enough for your standards. Amara's voice chimed in over the speakerphone. Manager Victor Lang, terminated, effective immediately. Access revoked. Rachel has approved the demotion of Claire Dubois, Liam Carter, and Sophie Grant, pending retraining review. Nia nodded. Good. And one more thing. Promote Isabella Torres to floor manager. Effective now. Isabella blinked. Ma'am? You stood up when no one else would. Nia said. That's leadership. Rachel's voice confirmed. Promotion processed. Claire slumped against the wall, whispering. I didn't want this to happen. I was just scared. Scared of who? Nia asked. Victor? Or people who look like me? Liam tried to slink toward the back exit. I was following orders, he mumbled. You used the intercom to humiliate me. Nia reminded him. You had every chance to stop. Victor, still unable to move, finally muttered. You'll regret this. Nia raised an eyebrow. The only thing I regret is that I had to come here undercover to see it for myself, Zoe called out. Reddit just crossed 50,000, and every outlet in Miami is tagging Luminos. Evan grinned. They're calling it the most expensive mistake in restaurant history, as Victor was escorted out by 2 senior staff members from the kitchen. Nia turned once more to the dining room. Enjoy your meals, she said. You'll be hearing more from me soon. And with that, the woman who'd been told she didn't belong walked through her own restaurant, not as a customer, but as the storm that swept every ounce of bias out from behind its glossy walls. Victor Lang's departure should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. The moment he was escorted through the back door of Luminos Bistro, humiliated and dismissed, the dining room didn't settle into applause or calm. Instead, something deeper began to stir. Something more potent than shock or satisfaction. It was reckoning. The kind that turns whispers into movements. Nia Williams stood still near the front, her white blouse softly glowing under the pendant lights, as if a spotlight had finally found her after being ignored all evening. But even as Victor disappeared into the kitchen corridor, the damage he'd caused remained, still raw in the air. Claire Dubois, pale and trembling, remained at the host stand, wringing her hands as she avoided eye contact with anyone. Liam Carter, red-faced and sweating, leaned against the server station like a cornered animal. Sophie Grant stayed behind the bar, visibly shaken, her usual smooth charm reduced to silence. What began as one woman's confrontation was now spiraling into something collective, a rising tide of voices demanding justice for not just Nia, but every guest who had ever walked into that space and felt invisible. Rachel Cohen's voice still echoed faintly from the speakerphone that Amara Davis had patched through. All demotions logged. Isabella's promotion confirmed. I've informed the board. You have full authority to proceed. Amara chimed in next. Reddit and Facebook numbers are still climbing. Local outlets just tagged Luminos in their tweets. Channel 7 and Miami Herald are requesting official statements. Should we alert PR? Not yet, Nia said coolly, scanning the room. This isn't finished, not while the rest of them are still hiding behind each other. Her eyes shifted to Claire, who was now trembling as she gripped the corner of the desk. Claire, Nia said calmly, do you have anything to say for yourself? Claire opened her mouth, but the words didn't come easily. I didn't know it was you. I was just following Victor's instructions. I swear I didn't mean anything personal. The excuse felt as hollow as an empty wine glass. Nia raised an eyebrow. What part of demanding to see my ID, or moving me near the kitchen, or approving the affordable menu wasn't personal? Claire's lip quivered. I thought I'd lose my job if I spoke up. Mia Chen, from across the room, stood up again. That's what they always say after they get caught, Malik added. Silence is complicity, every single time. Isabella, now wearing a manager's name badge after Amara updated the system remotely, stepped forward beside Nia. It wasn't just tonight. Ms. Williams, Claire has allowed this kind of behavior for months. And Victor? He didn't just discriminate. He trained us to... Nia turned slightly, addressing the whole room. Then tell me everything. It was the final release valve. Months, maybe years, of small humiliations, brushed off complaints, and ignored warnings began pouring out from customers and staff alike. Elena Ruiz raised her hand. I came here for a birthday dinner last month with my friend. She's Dominican. We were seated by the kitchen, too. I didn't think much of it at the time. Now it's all clicking. James Lee nodded. I noticed white guests got complimentary wine. I've eaten here twice before. Never got offered a drink. Ava Thompson, now filming with her own phone, added. I'm a journalist, and I came to this opening hoping to feature the new location. But instead I've seen every form of racial bias play out in 30 minutes. Lucas Parker pulled out his phone, scrolling. There are already 20 new posts on Yelp mentioning racial bias at other Luminos branches. This isn't just one night. As the voices rose, Liam tried to make a break for the kitchen. Stop, Nia said, her voice sharp and final. You don't walk away from this. Not when you use the intercom to humiliate a guest. Not when you served your ego instead of your job. He turned, defensive. Victor made me do it. Isabella's voice cut in. No one made you grab that mic and announce I wasn't allowed to eat in VIP. That was you. On your own. Nia pointed to Amara's phone. Record his statement. Amara's voice came through. Already recording. Everything's backed up to the internal server. That's when Sophie finally spoke. I didn't say anything, she muttered. But I didn't stop it either. Her eyes met Nia's. I wanted the tips. That's the truth. I thought seating the wealthy-looking guests would earn me more money. I didn't care who got pushed aside. It was the first honest thing anyone had said in 10 minutes. Nia nodded slowly. You just said the quiet part out loud, and now you understand why that makes you part of the problem. Noah Patel, a chef visiting from Tampa, stood from his table. This is what happens in kitchens, too. Brown and black chefs get skipped for promotions while others get the spotlight. It starts in places like this. Outside, through the large glass walls, a crowd had begun to gather. Pedestrians who had seen the live stream, news vans pulling up, flashing bulbs from camera phones. Inside, Nia remained centered. Everyone here, she said to the room, whether you posted a video, raised your voice, or just watched quietly. This is what exposure looks like. This is what happens when bias is no longer allowed to hide behind smiles and uniforms. She looked to Isabella. How's the floor now? Isabella, still shaken but determined, answered. Calm. Guests are alert, but calm. No one's left except the couple Sophie tried to flatter. Everyone else is staying, and they're watching. Amara came back through the phone. Media outlets are outside. You want me to go public with the reform memo now? No, Nia said. Let them wait. We're not issuing a statement until I've seen the full review of staff training logs, seating patterns, and complaints. I want it all on record. Rachel's voice returned on the line. I'll have legal pull it within the hour. PR will follow your lead. Just then, another woman stepped forward, older, dressed in a navy dress. Quiet until now. I'm sorry, she said. I've been coming here since your company opened in Fort Lauderdale. I saw the way you were treated tonight, and I never spoke up before. But I want you to know I will now. This is your company. This is your vision. Don't let people like Victor poison it. Her voice cracked with emotion. I was silent too long. Nia nodded. Thank you. But from now on, silence will not be part of our culture. She turned one final time toward Claire, Liam, and Sophie. You've all been demoted. You'll receive letters outlining your options, retraining, or resignation. You are not to lead another dining room without corporate clearance. Victor is banned from all Luminos properties. Permanently, Amara confirmed. Emails going out now. Termination and demotion notices filed. Legal looped in. Nia inhaled deeply. Let the breath out slowly. This location was meant to celebrate 10 years of excellence. But tonight, we were forced to confront 10 years of buried discrimination. That ends here, Isabella added. We rebuild from this moment forward. Customers nodded, some tearing up, some still filming, but all united in the same quiet understanding. And as the final notes of confrontation settled into the Miami night, a new chapter began, born not of strategy or branding, but of truth. With the dining room of Luminos Bistro hushed and every eye fixed on her, Nia Williams took one step forward and adjusted the collar of her white dress shirt. The slight motion was almost symbolic, like a queen straightening her crown after walking through a storm of humiliation. But this time, the storm wasn't hers to carry. Her voice, clear and commanding, rang out across the dining room with a calm fire. To every guest here, allow me to properly introduce myself. My name is Nia Williams. I am the founder and CEO of Luminos Hospitality Group, the company that owns this restaurant, the same restaurant whose staff just attempted to belittle, mock, and humiliate me because I didn't show up in a designer dress or expensive jewelry. What they didn't realize is that they weren't turning away a customer. They were spitting in the face of the very woman who built this place from the ground up. There was a sharp collective inhale. It wasn't just surprise. It was awe. Even those who had supported her from the beginning hadn't fully realized who they were standing beside. In that moment, the woman they tried to push out was the most powerful person in the building. Sophie Grant dropped the wine glass she'd been holding. It shattered on the floor with a sharp crack, echoing like punctuation. Claire Dubois leaned against the host's stand, her mouth slightly open, her cheeks drained of all color. Liam Carter slowly lowered the notepad he'd been clutching and muttered under his breath, "You've got to be kidding me." But it wasn't a joke. It wasn't a setup. It was the raw, unfiltered truth. Zoe Kim panned her camera across the staff, capturing their stunned faces. "I can't believe this," she whispered into her phone. "The CEO, the actual CEO." Evan's post hit Facebook seconds later. "She owns the entire restaurant, and they tried to throw her out." Within minutes, that caption would go viral across Florida and beyond. Nia didn't pause for applause or validation. She reached for her phone again and calmly spoke into the line. "Amara, proceed." On the other end, Amara Davis, her executive assistant, responded without hesitation. "Manager Victor Lang, firing processed, staff demotions filed, employee IDs revoked, Isabella's promotion finalized, corporate server updated." "Good," Nia said. "Add one more directive. Victor Lang is to be banned permanently from all Luminos properties. No rehire eligibility, ever." Rachel Cohen's voice crackled through the call, patched in from New York. "Approved. Noted. I've flagged his file across our entire system. Legal will follow up." By now, customers had risen from their seats. Some were clapping. Others simply stood in silent solidarity. Malik Johnson raised his glass and called out. "To the woman who didn't walk away," Elena Ruiz added. "To the CEO who didn't let it slide." But Nia wasn't done. Her gaze swept over the staff like a blade. "Claire, Liam, Sophie, you have each played a role in what happened tonight. You didn't just allow it. You participated in it. Claire, you demanded ID from a guest who made a reservation. Liam, You used the intercom to humiliate me in front of the entire restaurant. Sophie, you openly favored white customers because you believed they'd leave bigger tips. Sophie opened her mouth to object, but Nia held up a hand. Don't. You already admitted it, and don't mistake my professionalism for passivity, because I will not tolerate prejudice hidden behind customer service smiles. Claire, on the verge of tears, finally cracked. It wasn't supposed to go like this, she said. Victor trained us. He told us that certain guests weren't a good look. He said minorities don't tip, that they bring down the ambiance. He made it sound like policy. Her voice broke. I was scared of losing my job. You already lost your dignity, Nia replied. Not harshly, but with a truth that couldn't be softened. And I'm giving you a choice, retraining, or resignation. But you will not supervise a single shift at this company until you understand the meaning of respect. Liam, now pale and silent, stepped forward. I was wrong, he said, barely audible. I didn't know who you were, but that's no excuse. I saw what Victor did to other guests. I just never thought it would catch up. It always catches up, Nia said quietly. That's the one guarantee in this business. Your actions follow you, every word, every smirk, every lie spoken over a reservation. You helped build a culture of exclusion, and now you'll help rebuild one of integrity if you want to stay. Amara confirmed in Nia's earpiece. All demotions processed, local HR looped in, documents on their way, Rachel added. Corporate supports your decision fully. Then Nia turned to Isabella, who had quietly stood beside her the entire time, eyes wide but unshaken. You, she said gently, chose to speak when it would have been safer to stay silent. You stood up for a guest you didn't know, because it was right, and you did it without knowing who I was. That tells me everything about your character. From this moment on, you are the new floor manager of this branch. Isabella blinked, stunned. Ma'am, I don't know what to say. Say yes, Nia replied, smiling, and then lead them better than they led you. Zoe shouted across the room. This is going on every platform I've got. This is what justice looks like. Customers clapped again, some in disbelief, others in admiration. Mia Chen wiped a tear from her eye. I've never seen anything like this, she whispered. James Lee nodded. This is how you run a company, not with press releases, with action. Noah Patel leaned over to Lucas and muttered. You think other restaurant chains are watching this? They better be, Lucas replied. They'll have no choice. This is going global. Claire suddenly stepped forward. Ms. Williams, I'm sorry. I mean it. I was part of the problem. I want to change. Please let me stay. Nia's face was unreadable. You'll be placed on probation. You'll undergo mandatory diversity and ethics training. And for 6 months, you will work directly under Isabella. If she reports a single incident, you're out. No warnings. Understood? Claire nodded quickly. Yes. Thank you. Liam didn't speak again. He just lowered his head. Sophie murmured. I accept retraining. I need to do better. Nia gave a simple nod. Good. Then start now. Tonight's service isn't over, and there are guests still waiting for real hospitality. Amara chimed in once more. Reddit thread has passed 8,000 upvotes. Facebook video is now on local news. Channel 7 is outside, Rachel said. Do you want PR to issue a statement? Nia looked around the room. No, she said firmly. The statement already happened, right here, in this dining room, and it's going to keep happening, at every Luminos branch, until our culture reflects what we claim to be. She turned to the customers. To all of you who stood up, who recorded, who spoke, who didn't walk away, thank you. You helped turn a moment into a movement. Then she stepped back slightly, placed her phone down, and looked around once more, not as a guest, and not just as a CEO, but as a woman who had endured, risen, and reclaimed what was always hers. With the storm of confrontation behind her and the staff's demotions and firings in motion, Nia Williams pivoted from justice to transformation. The battle had been public, emotional, and deeply personal, but the aftermath needed to be precise. "This isn't just about tonight," she said aloud, her voice firm and controlled. "It's about every future night. Every guest who walks through these doors, every employee who clocks in for work. Starting now, things change." She turned toward Isabella Torres, now standing with a freshly printed name badge marked Manager, and nodded. "Lock the VIP section down for the rest of the evening. Reassign all remaining guests to the main floor. No one receives priority seating, not until the floor has been fully retrained." Isabella, now fully in command, moved quickly. "Right away, Miss Williams. I'll have the hosts notify guests now." The mood in the dining room was no longer tense. It was sober, respectful, almost reverent. The customers who had watched the scene unfold knew they weren't just dining out that evening. They were witnessing a shift in corporate culture, live and in real time. On the phone, Amara Davis reported updates in a steady rhythm. Branch-level systems are secured. Access for terminated and demoted employees has been revoked. HR logs are capturing live entries. We've also flagged 5 recent customer complaints about racial bias in the Miami branch. Looks like this wasn't isolated. Nia absorbed that quietly, then responded. "Escalate it. I want a full review of all 10 branches, every seating pattern, complaint history, and tip discrepancy across the last 12 months. If this happened here, it could be happening elsewhere." Rachel Cohen's voice came back in from the board line, firm and supportive. "I've already contacted compliance. They're building a branch-wide audit team. You'll have a preliminary report within 72 hours. While staff rearranged tables, and customers settled back into their meals with more curiosity than hunger." Nia addressed the room again. "For those of you who stayed," she said, "you deserve more than a meal. You deserve transparency. So let me be clear. The individuals responsible for what happened tonight will not lead in this company again. And moving forward, Luminos Hospitality will implement mandatory bias training, monthly anonymous guest experience reviews, and a new equity-first tipping model, ensuring no one is ever overlooked for simply being who they are." Several guests clapped. Others simply nodded, recognizing the weight of her words. Just then, Liam Carter, still silent after being publicly demoted, looked up and said, "Victor told us to prioritize guests who looked like big tippers. That meant white customers. He even showed us charts. Said black diners bring down margins." Gasps rippled through the room. Isabella turned to Nia with a fire in her voice. "We never saw those charts. Only the managers did." Nia's gaze darkened. "That's the smoking gun," she said. "That's the culture he planted, behind closed doors." Amara, listening in, replied, "I've marked that for legal. If he embedded racial profiling into staff procedures, we'll need to investigate every directive he issued," Rachel added. "This might warrant external auditing." Nia's jaw tightened, but her tone remained composed. "He thought he could manipulate the system quietly, but you all recorded it, posted it, and now the world is watching." Evan stood near the bar, glancing at his phone. "It's true. Reddit's now over 11,000 upvotes. Facebook comments are past 2,000. Everyone from civil rights groups to restaurant critics is sharing it," Zoe added. "There's a viral comment saying, 'This is how a CEO should lead.'" Nia shook her head gently. "No, this is how people should treat each other. I just happen to have the authority to make it policy." She looked again to Isabella. "Schedule a closed-door staff meeting tomorrow morning. Full attendance required. I'll personally join by video to lay out the new protocols." "Yes, ma'am," Isabella said. "And I'll start cross-training the bar and floor staff tonight. Make sure no one is overburdened," Nia added. "This isn't about punishment. It's about growth. But accountability is non-negotiable." That line drew quiet applause again, from customers, from staff, from even those who had once doubted her place in the room. There was no question anymore. She didn't belong in the restaurant as a guest. She was the restaurant. And tonight, she'd saved its soul. 3 months later, the 10th branch of Luminos Bistro at 2501 Bayshore Drive didn't just look different. It felt different. Gone were the hushed whispers of favoritism and judgment that once hung over the velvet rope VIP area like smoke. In their place was something stronger, deeper, dignity. Nia Williams had not simply fired a manager or demoted a few staff members. She had reconstructed the soul of her company, starting from that very night of humiliation and turning it into a blueprint for reform. Under her new diversity protocols, every Luminos location nationwide now conducted monthly bias training, random table audits, and customer experience surveys. Each new hire, from dishwasher to director, underwent a review on ethics, equity, and cultural intelligence before stepping foot on the floor. And at the Miami location, Isabella Torres, now fully settled into her role as floor manager, ran a tight but fair shift, earning the respect of staff and guests alike not through fear, but through consistency and courage. "That woman," customers would whisper admiringly, "stood up when it counted. That's why this place feels different." Victor Lang never returned. His name was blacklisted across the Luminos network, flagged in red in the internal system with the words "Rehire Prohibited, Ethics Violation." Claire, Liam, and Sophie had all taken their demotions and entered the company's retraining program. Claire, after 6 weeks under Isabella's supervision, requested to remain in her new position and sent Nia a handwritten letter of apology. Sophie chose to resign and pursue a career elsewhere. Liam, after extensive coaching and a quiet public apology to staff, was reassigned to a back-of-house support role. Nia didn't hold grudges, but she didn't forget either. "Forgiveness," she'd told Amara during a leadership meeting, "is earned through action, not words. Our guests deserve better. So do our employees." The viral video from that night had taken on a life of its own. Zoe Kim and Evan Brooks were invited to speak on several national platforms, including The View and Good Morning America, not as influencers but as citizen witnesses to justice in real time. Their footage of Nia calmly revealing her identity, flanked by customers clapping and staff stunned into silence, had struck a chord across the country. Reddit threads exploded. Facebook Reels reached millions. The hashtag #ThisIsLeadership became a rallying cry for corporate accountability in the hospitality industry. But Nia herself stayed mostly out of the spotlight. When asked for comment, she gave a single statement: "Respect doesn't depend on a dress code, a last name, or a perceived bank balance. It's the baseline of human decency." Inspired by the wave of support and attention, Nia launched the Luminos Diversity Fund, a $15 million initiative designed to support underrepresented professionals in hospitality through scholarships, mentorships, and advancement pipelines. One of the first grant recipients? A young Latina student named Carolina Torres, Isabella's niece, who dreamed of one day opening her own restaurant. "Leadership," Nia said at the launch ceremony, "isn't just about responding to injustice. It's about creating opportunity so no one has to endure it to succeed." Back at the Miami branch, the once divided dining room had become something of a symbol. Customers would travel from out of state just to sit at the table where Nia had stood her ground. Staff proudly pointed to the framed company ethics charter on the wall, signed by Nia and Rachel Cohen, outlining non-negotiable values: dignity, inclusion, transparency, action. Even competitors took notice. One rival restaurateur, interviewed anonymously, said, "We used to lead with image. Now we lead with fairness, because Luminos raised the bar." As the fall sun began to set on a warm October evening, Nia returned quietly to the branch. No cameras, no entourage, just her and Amara. She wore the same white blouse and black slacks, not out of symbolism, but because it was who she'd always been, grounded, determined, unwilling to be defined by appearances. She walked through the door, and the new host, an older black gentleman named Elijah, greeted her with a sincere smile. "Welcome back, Ms. Williams. Your usual table?" She smiled. "No need for anything special. Just a regular seat will do." He nodded, as if knowing the seat didn't define the guest. It was the other way around. Before sitting, she looked around the room. No one whispered, no one stared, and no one questioned her presence. In that moment, she realized the true reward wasn't in the firings or the policy changes. It was in the quiet normalcy of respect, freely given. She had walked into her own restaurant months earlier and been told, "You don't belong." Now, she didn't need to prove that she did. The work had done it for her. And as she took her seat at a modest corner table, watching Isabella lead the floor with calm authority, Nia allowed herself the rarest indulgence, peace.